Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk. I'm Heidi Smith. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator based in the United Kingdom, and today I'm working with the fabulous new Brewed for You stamp set. And well, it's a bundle actually, because in here we've not only got the stamps, but we've also got dies that coordinate with it as well. As you can see, I'm using mine on a regular basis. Hence, I've still got my tape in there. But it's a great one because not only do you get stamps, dies that cut out the outlines, but you get these lovely little ones that cut out the inside as well. So you can actually both stamp and die cut the images, or you can just die cut to create your glasses and beer mugs. And we've got these cute little leaves here as well. So we've got a lovely hop and then some little sort of leaves that go with that as well. And then so for the men in my life, I have to say I have beer drinkers, so this will be for the men in my life. You've got this fun background here. I've used the lovely stylish shapes dies to create this aperture on the front, and I've just popped that up on some dimensionals, and I'm going to show you an easy way to get those lovely glossy images. And when you open it up, it is of course a fun fold, and OL yes. So I thought it was great fun. I've used some retired DSP here. It's the colour families, and because I had some and I haven't yet bought the new ones. These are the patterns in the new ones. I've only got them in the in colours at the moment. So you've got an equivalent kind of sort of check pattern there. So you've got some florals and some dots and some stripes. Obviously the stripes would work just as well, and you've got those patterns. So yes, those are the five different sort of patterns, 4 different patterns that you've got. So you've got a floral, which is backed by the stripes. You've got the dots, which is backed by the check. Obviously the stripes with florals, and there's the check and the dots, and that's just to show you the other colours. So it's a really great set of patterns, but you could use any DSP that you wanted there really. And I say just that fun pop-up. It's a variation on a wiper card, but it's just an internal wiper for a change, and obviously it sort of stands up like a standard card as well. So let's get started. Obviously we need to do some stamping first of all. So you're going to need a standard card base. So in the UK, so that is 21 by 14.5, scored at 10.5. So I'll grab my trimmer to do that now, so I don't forget. I will put dimensions in inches. I have started, or I'm going to start with some of them actually working out for US cardstock. I know you have a shorter, wider card, but obviously that letter size is not one that we use here in the UK. So that's our standard card base, and I've used basic grey for that. You then want a piece of DSP, and this is actually just a fraction under, so I'm going to take it to sort of 10.3 by 14, probably 14.3 I think I've cut it to. So you are literally just coming slightly on the inside, so that's going to go in there. And the only reason I've cut it down slightly is that it doesn't kind of impinge on the crease that you've got. So I'm just going to quickly add that in there. I should have done that really without my trimmer in the way, but because I'm doing other pieces. And I've forgotten to write my dimensions down. There we go. So that can go in there while we speak. You then want a piece of card, basic white for the other side, and this is just 10 by 14 centimetres. I've cut that slightly shorter on this one. And I'm going to use just a piece of my offcut that I've got of the DSP. I'm just going to cut that down to 1.5 centimetres. By the 14 centimetres, and that's going to go. Take my mat out of the way because I'm not doing any stamping just yet. You will want your stamping pierce mat because these are photopolymer stamps, and you get a better stamped image, particularly with anything that's solid. So particularly for those inner pieces. I'm just going to pop that down the left hand edge, and I'm going to be stamping on that shortly, so that can be drying. You want a piece of card for some stamping as well that is 6 by 8.5 centimetres, and the little pop-up that we've got is 6.5 by 4 centimetres as well. You're going to want a piece of cardstock for the front, which is 10 by 14, and again I'm going to do some stamping on that. And I think that's probably about it. And you're going to want some scrap as well, so you're going to want some scrap to stamp these images on here as well. So let's get started with some stamping. Okay, now I will want my stamping pierce mat. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually repeat stamp that image of the sort of those beer steins, and I'm going to stamp those in basic grey on the smoky slate. I did do a version where I stamped them in I think it was this one. I think I stamped both of those with smoky slate. Anyway, I'm basic grey even. So I've got my basic grey. I'm going to grab a piece of scrap paper just to protect my stamping pierce mat, because I'll probably stamp over the edge on this. And then I simply came in and quite sort of freehand kind of just added those just sort of taking them in and say just to create a background pattern. And this is always, you know, something you can do with pretty much any of your stamps really. Just repeat stamp to create your own version of a DSP. Great if you want to just do something. I've already managed to stick my thumb in the ink pad. And just make sure you come off the edges. It just creates a better look overall for it. So we're going to now die cut that. And the one I used, I think it was this one. So I want 2 sizes. I didn't show you, did I? So Stylish Shapes are the ones I've used. So Stylish Shapes dies cut both the inner circle with the piercing and the outer, so you get this really lovely effect here. So you've got the stitched, it's not stitch detail because it's pierced, but you want both sizes. So it comes in a set. You've got 5 squares, 6 circles and 4 banners. Really, really useful. I mean I mourn the loss of my stitched shapes, and this one does the trick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop first of all the smaller one is going to pop just on the edge, because I just want that to cut a complete circle. So a bit of tape, and as you know, I'm a great advocate of our post-it note tape. But if you haven't got post-it note tape, then the new masking sheets, a piece of that cut down would work just as well. And then I'm just going to pop this one on the outside, and it is going to come off at the side, you'll see. And if you want to make sure that you've got that perfect circle, just flip it over and make sure that you can't see the cutting edge, which is that middle line in there. Pop that through your die cutting machine. There we go, pop that on the plate. So I'm just going to pop that through now. And being a circle, it doesn't matter which orientation you pop it through in. If I was using my squares, then I would be putting that through at an angle. So when you take that out, you've then got this layer there that you can use for an for the background, and you've also got the outline. Now originally I die cut it before I stamped it, or you could cut a circle separately, but I decided this time let's give it a go, and it just adds a little bit of interest to it as well. So that's going to go on the front, and pop those 2 dies back in my set so I don't lose them, and then we can do some stamping as well. So I'm going to stamp one of the bottles and one of the steins and the outline of the cloud. So with the outline of the bottle, because I'm going to colour that with blends, I'm going to stamp that with Memento. So ink it up really well. And then we've got a really good bottle. I then want to take my stein again and grab my basic grey, because I'm not colouring this one in with blends, although obviously you could if you wanted to. Actually, just trying to make sure I'm going to have enough space to die cut that. Might just grab myself an extra piece actually, just to make life easier, or just in case it doesn't quite go right, I might as well do that now. And then also you're going to want the foam, and with the foam I'm stamping off first to give that lighter effect. You don't want it to be I don't want it to be quite as dark. I feel it looks better when it's stamped off first. And then I'm going to use some crushed curry for the infill as well. And this infill stamp, you can see here, in fact I've got a little hair on that. Hopefully that's... And then I'm going to do a technique which I've seen, I think it was Patty Bennett I actually saw do it, but it was from Jay and Barry Soriano, or Jay, I think it's Jay, Matozu Crafts anyway, where they showed adding a bit of extra colour with our watercolour pencils. So I thought, you know, and it really made those images pop and just add a bit of interest. That's me. And all they did was they just came in and added a little bit more with that, and then blended it out with a stump. So I'm just going to grab one. And just to add, so yeah, it does, it just adds that little bit extra, and it's another way to use your watercolour pencils. I can always feel I'm not using them quite enough, or I use them the same way. So you could use a blender pen if you wanted to do that as well. And then for the I'm going to use my blender pens for that jug. Now I've kind of gone for the grey because I'm thinking it's probably glass. In the UK, we tend to have kind of these sort of jugs for cider rather than for beer. But you know what? You know, I'm just coming in with my light smoky slate to get that sort of saturation on the base, and then I'm going to use my darker smoky slate with the bullet tip to come in to do the top, and for precision to do that handle as well. And then that's where I was going to come in, and I started. I'm just going over those kind of lines that are already provided by the designs of the stamps to kind of give you some dimension. And then I'm just going to come in with my bullet tip again and just blend over those, just some little circles. As I've said before, you know, I am no great colourist, but you know, stamping blends, I do find I can actually get, I think for me anyway, a reasonable sort of level of detail in there, and they do come to life really well. Just adds that shading. And then again, you know, another suggestion was to kind of come in with the black I'm just using my black watercolour pencil here. So let's give that a go. So just another layer of shading in there. What do we think? Okay, so now I'm going to die cut those images. So as I've said, as you can see, already from my previous sample, I had an issue with my video. For whatever reason, I managed to, it didn't record properly, and so I missed off the last chunk of construction. So anyway, this is why I'm re-recording this, and it just got to that stage of, rather than trying to splice it all together, it just seemed easier just to start again. So there we go. Happens occasionally, not so much to me these days, but certainly in the early days it did, and before I was sort of splicing videos together as well. So once you've got those, a couple of things to note then. I haven't shown you how to get the glossy effect, so that's the first thing. So to get the glossy effect, this is so easy. It's a tip I picked up from one of the card making Facebook groups, and I didn't make a note of who it was that suggested it, but it was just quite simply to grab a roll of clear, wide, I mean this isn't sellotape, but it's the equivalent of sellotape, and all you need to do is, when you can find the end, so recommendation, make sure you turn the end over, just grab your tape and quite simply cover your images with it. Now I haven't done the best job here because of the way I've stamped it, and I just fold over those edges. That really doesn't matter. And I'm just going to add it over my glass images. I'm not going to, obviously my foam would not be glossy, so I'm not going to add it over my foam, but just, it's so simple. And I've done a variety of ways of creating glass effect over the years, and this has got to be the easiest. I do love the effect. I have to say, it doesn't give you the dimension that you get if you use our fine tip glue or our embossing powder. That kind of gives it that slightly more 3D effect, but for speed this is definitely the easiest way. So I've just put my packing tape over that, pop it through your cut and emboss machine if that's what you've got, or obviously through, if you've still got an older machine, and then when you take those out, there you have, look at that, proper sort of glossy image. There we go, and my foam. So I'm going to pop those dies to one side so that I don't lose them. I'm pretty good about not losing dies, it has to be said. One of the things I am reasonable at. To attach the foam, I find it looks best if I attach it from the back, because it would come over the top of this and then to the side. So just add a little bit of glue to the very top of that. And then this is probably the fiddly bit. And once you've done that, my top tip for keeping that in place is to grab your dimensionals. And for this I'm just going to use pop a mini dimensional on, just because they came to hand first. There's my big ones. I've got some big ones out. And pop a dimensional to cover that join. So, you've put a bit of glue there so it is secured, but really the dimensional does a really good job of securing those in place. And you're going to need one on there, a couple on there anyway to support it. Pop another, I probably haven't placed those as well as I would normally. Again, pop some dimensionals So I've added my bottle onto the front here. Then I'm going to do the same with my steins. There we go. So that's ready to go on. So now we can do our other bits of stamping that we need to do as well. So the first one is we're going to do our sentiment here, and then we're going to stamp across the bottom of this panel, and then we also want to stamp our beer glasses for the inner mechanism as well. So I'm going to quickly grab, we want our beer glass stamp, and it's up to you whether you want to add the sort of foam on top. As you can see on this one I didn't, I just thought it was fine without. I'm going to grab my Oh Ale Yes sentiment as well, and I'm going to again use my basic grey for that. So that's our front completed. So for these ones I'm going to start on the left hand edge here. I'm going to grab my scrap bit of paper in there, because the right hand edge is going to be covered up by our partly by our mechanism. So I'm just going to start at the left and repeat stamp those, and I'm just lining that up by eye, so they're not necessarily perfect, but I think that's fine. I'm then going to do my centre panel, and this one, because it's going to be visible, I'm just going to put one in the middle and one each side. And when I'm doing stamping like that, I just try and go for the middle first, so it makes it easier to space those out. So again, that's with my basic grey, and I'm going, while I've got my basic grey out, I'm going to do two things. First of all, I'm going to stamp off first and just create a kind of a slight watermark on that piece. I'm going to come in with my basic grey, ink it up really well, and I'm going to keep that towards the top of the panel because it's going to pop up. And then all I need to do now is fill in the colours of those, and with this one I'm simply going to come in with my crushed curry. Okay. And again, you know, a couple of ways you could add. You could use your watercolour pencil to add a bit of detail. You could use your blender pen if you wanted to do something a little bit different, add a little bit more, or you could simply leave it as it is. So, you know, you could come in and add a little more shading if you wanted to, just using that blender pen to kind of colour. As you can see, I've got the joys of pets, so I've got a couple of little marks in there. So if you wanted to touch those up, I don't normally go direct into the ink pad, but in this instance I'm just going to take a little bit of ink, and that just helps blend out those couple of little blemishes due to my numerous pets. Okay, so that's my panel, that's my inner panel, and this is my panel for the mechanism. So my mechanism, so with my card I've got a piece that is 6.5 by 13 centimetres, and we're going to score on the right hand side here at 1.5, then turn it round and score at 10.5, at 12 centimetres, and that's going to leave a little flap on the right hand side here. I'm going to just reinforce those, and I'm going to take my snips just across the corner here, and it just neatens it off when you're putting it in, just on those tabs. Like so. And with to create that pop-up, this is the really easy bit. All you need to do is on this bottom left-hand corner at 1.5 centimetres, make a couple of little marks. Keep your ruler, don't put it away, as I was about to. Grab a scoring tool, so the end of your take your pick, and just score diagonally across there. And then just fold that like so. What we need to do now is do some assembly. So if I grab my card, clear the decks a little bit. So I'm just going to add some glue to the back of this. She says optimistically. If I can find the adhesive on my desk. There we go. So that's going to go on the left-hand side, and that's there for you to write your message to the recipient. So this panel with the coloured images is going to go onto the front of our mechanism cover. So that's going on here. So the one with the short score line you want on the right hand side. And then this last little bit, this is where the fun happens. Basically it's going to come up when you open. So what you want to do is glue it flat in this top corner here. Now I'm going to grab my Seal Plus because you want to make sure that that's got a really good bond on there. So glue on the front and pop it on the corner there. And then you then want to again make sure that you've got a really good seal, and you want your glue right up to the edge of that, and the same on the other side. So this is going to come in here. I've put the glue, and so I'm putting that right up to the score line. I'm making sure it's nice and square, and obviously my adhesive is off to the side here, so it's not going to get caught. So if you fold it up, again make sure it's nice and square. You could even bring it up just a touch from the bottom. Close your card. There we go. And you'll see that when it opens then pops up. And again, just in, there we go. So that when it's closed, that's a better way of doing it. There we go. And that you then get the pop-up. It does mean it doesn't fold quite as flat, but it does mean it folds flat as a card. So there we go. And all you need to do is pop this piece on the front. And make sure you go around that centre aperture. Probably should have done this before I did my centre bit. And then grab some dimensionals for the back of this panel and just pop it up a little bit more as well. And here we have our fun inner wiper pop-up card for those beer lovers in our life. Just pop that in like so. So I hope you enjoy making our inner wiper card, and thanks for coming to see me again, and pop back and see me again soon, and please do hit that subscribe button and the notification button. It really does make a difference, and as it helps me to grow my audience, but more importantly it means that I can provide these videos free of charge to you. If you can support me by shopping with me, that would be fantastic. Pop along to Flutter by Heidi and follow the links to shop now, or use the links in the description box below this video. Thanks for watching. Bye now.